I'm David Trungale from TraderTours.com/golf, and we are looking at the swing of Clark Brecken, a phenomenal golfer from the UK. In fact, over the years, there have been a number of articles posted about his tournament accolades. So, a player this good, it's clearly going to be up to Clark to decide if he wants to implement any changes that I might bring up or not. So let's go ahead and analyze this swing. Alright, so Clark's swing from the face on. This is with the driver. A lot of stuff to learn from this for anyone watching on the YouTube channel. As you can see, the ball placement's pretty good. It's forward in the stance, which is what you want with the driver. Conventional setup, nice looking grip. So let's start the backswing. Right away you can see that in the takeaway, I know Clark's been working on this, he's doing a great job of adding some extension, or what I would refer to as width, creating a nice little gap between the right elbow and the body, and also a nice conventional movement where he is loading the weight to the right foot. Another good aspect of this swing, somewhere around left arm parallel, these lines may not be perfect, you can see he's starting to hinge the wrists. And as I've studied Hogan and other players, Tiger Woods before he got injured recently, a lot of the guys are, just shy of 90 degrees at left arm parallel, and then they ultimately add more wrist hinge later on, which we will definitely see here. So just remember where the club is right now versus where it is on the way down. So again, his left arm is roughly parallel to the ground. Look at this increase in angle here. Very conventional. You'll see that with virtually all great players. The right elbow is now poking underneath the left arm just a bit. Alright, the weight is shifting in this direction, which is once again a great attribute. So with all this in mind, let me go ahead and remove some of these lines. And this is just something that I'm spotting that, once again, is totally up to Clark to decide if he wants to work on this or not. So I drew a line on the top of his head, and when he takes the club back, you can see that there is a bit of a bob upwards, which of course will bring it back down on the way forward, which again, we're talking 99% of good players drop their head on the way down. Now take note of the left leg here. So it does straighten, but there's this stall and sink movement. It's ever so slight, but the knee is bent. Now, when I play this swing from the down the line view, it will be a little bit more clear. I think what is happening is that his hips are a little bit slow to open, and they're lacking a little bit of depth. So regarding this head movement going upward and the left leg not snapping quite as much as you might see with some tour players, the good news is there is one drill to accommodate both of those items, which I'll show at the end of the video. But first, let's check out his swing from the down the line view. Alright, so Clark's swing from down the line. Now, during the takeaway, you can see I drew a line on the shaft plane. That's pretty traditional when you're analyzing the swing from this angle, but I will tell you the camera, I think, is just a little bit high and to the right, which may create the illusion that the club head is going underneath the plane. But when I look at it here, this is really pretty good, so I wouldn't be too concerned about that. Nice classic takeaway. The arms are going to be in very nice shape at the top. Talked about this before. Notice how his right elbow is pointing down towards the ground. Left arm is nicely across the chest. The hands are at what I would call optimal height, meaning they're not too high. If you lift your hands way up, it's going to be hard to be consistent, but if they're excessively low, you might compromise some power. So really nice angles here with the arms and the plane. Again, if you do look, though, at the hips and what's going on with the lower body, he is sliding forward a bit, so perhaps coming out of the posture just a touch, and we'll see that ever so slightly a little bit more on the way down. Now you can see the shaft, it's right on the forearm or above the right forearm, which is, again, something that you want to mimic. And it looks like this ball is starting a little bit left. I think he plays a cut, which again is something that I personally like to do myself. Now, if we back up though and look at the moment when he is striking the ball, this element that I mentioned earlier about the hips being a little bit slow, ideally we would like to see more of the back of the left leg. So we would like to see a bit more rotation and then sort of a straight angle here. In fact, to make this simpler, let's slide over to a still photograph of Clark versus a tour professional who won the Masters. So Clark is on the left, Trevor Immelman on the right. Of course, old footage of Trevor back when he was playing well, sometime around when he won the '08 Masters. And I timed the swing, so this is right essentially at the moment when they're striking the ball with a driver. We can see that Trevor's hips are more open. I drew a yellow line to illustrate that straightening movement with the left leg, how it snaps back. And also you'll notice his shoulders seem to be on more of a steeper plane, which I think you could say is a result of having more anterior pelvic tilt throughout the swing. So people who come out of their posture, granted, again, a player as good as Clark, it's not like this is a huge deal. He's obviously going to put the club on the ball consistently every time, but if you watch someone, let's say, who's a 20 or 30 handicapper, you might actually see posterior pelvic tilt where they're really standing up. So let's look at one other angle of a player, and then I'll finally wrap this up. All right, so this is Colin Morikawa, and we have both angles brought to you by TaylorMade footage they posted. So I drew a line on the back of his hips from down the line, and just take note of how his hips stay up against that, if not actually get a little bit deeper. And he's on a pretty steep plane here with, again, that anterior pelvic tilt. Clark, I'll tell you, from the face-on view, I think you look better than him. He is swaying off the ball ever so slightly, and notice the arms buckle a little bit, and his hands are higher than yours, where, again, I would prefer the hands to be a little bit lower like yours. So, again, every player is unique, and once you start analyzing swings at this ultra-high level, it's really getting picky. So anyway, the point of all this, though, the move is this. So just be cognizant of the hips. And, before he hits the ball, in fact, well before, we can see that straightening action going on with the left leg, how it's snapped out of the way. But again, this lifting of the right foot and the right leg shooting that way is something that I personally am not a fan of, and I think your right leg is in better shape than him. But what makes him a great player and why he's able to get away with that is, again, he just has so much lower body rotation, and that snapping of the left leg, which, check out that knee here, the straightening movement, it really fosters this motion for the hips opening up. So again, it's not like you have to have your hips crazy deep with this much tilt. Everyone's built differently. We all have different restrictions on flexibility, and let's just close this out by looking at that drill I referred to. All right, so here's the drill. All you need is the corner of a wall. This is going to be myself entering onto the screen here. So I like to put a club across my chest. I'm working on my turn, but again, most importantly, as I'm doing this, I'm using the corner of the wall to try and maintain or even feel like I'm increasing my depth. So as I'm going around here, my right glute, I want wrapping around the wall and staying on it. And on the way down, it's going to be just the opposite, where the left hip goes around the corner, but once again maintains pressure on the wall. So take note of this. Again, watch the left knee here. You can see sort of that straightening action, and I really think that will help facilitate your lower body rotation, help you with the tilt, and also mitigate your head from rising a bit during the backswing. So this is a really simple but effective drill to do. And other than that, you have a really excellent swing, obviously. So keep up the great work. Clark, Brecken, everybody, great guy, great player, and obviously if you're in the market for an affordable golf lesson, for anyone listening to this, feel free to check out my website at tradertours.com/golf.